Welcome to the Misty Rambles, your mystical getaway into the realm of spirituality, crystals, the paranormal, and intriguing conspiracy theories. We are your hosts, Nicole and Corey, guiding you through the veils of the unknown, where we embark on a journey of discovery and wonder.
Join us as we delve into the hidden depths of ancient wisdom, exploring the power of crystals, unlocking the secrets of the universe, and unraveling the phenomena that surrounds us. From the whispers of the spirits to the mind-bending mysteries that challenge conventional beliefs, we dive headfirst into the uncharted territories of the metaphysical.
Each episode will gather around the digital campfire, sharing captivating stories and thought-provoking discussions that will leave you questioning reality itself. Whether you're a seasoned truth seeker or a curious skeptic, the Misty Rambles is your haven for expanding your consciousness and embracing the realms beyond our everyday existence.
So grab your favourite crystal, light a soothing incense, and open your mind to the extraordinary. It's time to embark on an adventure like no other. Welcome to
The Misty Rambles. Hello, beautiful souls.
Hello, how is everyone?
And welcome to another episode of the Misty Rambles. We are your hosts Nicole and Corey, and today we are carrying on our part 2 episode of The Power of Healing.
We are.
Just before we actually delve straight into this, because obviously we just want to get stuck in, no kind of breakdown of what we were talking about, because I think everyone knows what we're about to talk about today. But I got a lot of messages. I was actually just kind of briefly mentioning this to you before we started, that so many people had texted me. I got a few emails and I was like, oh my god, a few personal texts and a few Instagram texts just saying that they kind of just had a voice of appreciation towards my story last week, and I don't even know what to say. Like, I honestly was so taken aback by it. Like, I wasn't expecting people to really contact me and just thank me for that. So I just want to say that I understand that I displayed like a big part of my own vulnerability with my story last week. And I certainly would love to talk about more about it, because obviously that was only like a bit of a taste of what it is that I went through. But we all have a story, and I think it's just about making a space, a safe space, especially for both of us and everyone else to share and talk about their own experiences and their own healing journey.
And that's all it is. Exactly.
So I wanted to thank you all so very much for your support, your kind hearts. And I just really appreciate that you accept me and my story, and you gave me a chance to, I suppose, kind of share that part of me that I hadn't really shared to my listeners before, even to my customers, you know. There's very few people that know about it, so thank you so much. And just know that we are an acceptance of who you are, no matter how difficult it might be, that you might be going through something right now, that we are here as well. But anyway, let's get into this special episode, okay? And it's going to be focusing on Corey here in front of me.
It is.
On his healing journey. So, can you tell me what it is that like kind of drew you towards healing at the beginning? Like, what drew you towards it? Like,
so my healing journey kind of only really started, I would say, in the last 6 to 8 months. Like, it's not it wasn't a big massive thing that happened, but so I, similarly to how you found Anne's Reiki in the last episode, I had found the healing practice that I went to through Instagram as well, which is a bit mad.
It is mad.
But so I was doing a college project and I'm doing photography, so from September on I have a major project to do, which is a year-long project, and I wanted to focus on healers in particular and the work that they do and kind of showing different types of healings. But the main one that I wanted to focus on was shamanic healing. It was something different. I'd never really heard of this before.
Right.
And I contacted the practitioner. I went to Lindsay, and she does Kambo. So
I've heard of it.
That is the healing practice that I have started with.
Wow. Like, and such an intense one.
A very intense one. I didn't think it was going to be as intense, but when I went to it, it was very, very intense.
Okay, so before you kind of get into the story of what it is that you went through, did you do research into
Okay, I done a lot of research. So first of all, we'll talk about why I kind of went to her first. What, like, I wanted to heal. So when I was in primary school, I was really badly bullied every day from junior infants the entire way up to 6th class, and it went on 9 to 3 every day of the week, even Saturdays, Sundays. It was constant. So I had built up a lot of trauma from that, over the years and never really done anything about it. I kind of just bottled it up and was like, look, I'm grand, it's grand, I don't care, it doesn't bother me, all this sort of stuff. And then I think I was at the point where I was like, I kind of want to release what I've built up over these years, and I had looked into different bits and never really went on with them. And then when I seen Kambo, I was like, this is something really different and something that can help me a lot with what I was going through. I wasn't going through it at the time when I went to Kambo, when I started doing Kambo, but it was all that like trauma that I'd built up over the years and just never really done anything about it. So going back to what you said about the research, Kambo is a mad medicine, and when I looked into it, I was like, whoa, this sounds very intense. It sounds...
Sorry to laugh, but it's so true.
It is. It sounds terrifying when you look it up. And I'd looked at different practitioners who do it in Ireland, and I'm very like, if you haven't posted anything on your social medias, I'd be skeptical of you. And I'd found a couple, and like they like maybe 8,000 followers with like 4 or 5 posts. And then I came across Lindsay, and she had like thousands of followers, loads and loads of posts, and each post was giving you information about Kambo and what it is, and people who have actually done it with her, she'd like their kind of testimonials up and stuff.
Yeah.
So start following her, and she followed me back, and kind of was chatting to her a little tiny bit. And then when I thought about doing Kambo myself, I was like, okay, I want to kind of ask someone who's done it before. So I contacted Leanne. Massive shout out to Leanne for all the help she gave me. She basically had said to me everything that will happen and talked to me about it and her experiences with it. And she also said to me, this was something I thought was mad when she said it first. She said, you'll be called by the frog. So for people who don't know what Kambo is a frog medicine. It's a fire frog medicine. So when she said you'll be called by the frog, I was like, this sounds a bit bad. Like, is the frog going to appear at my door and be like, Corey, come on, it's time?
So just to be clear, when she says that, does that mean like, was she talking about when you were under the influence of Kambo that the frog was on call to you, or is this before?
No, this is before you go in. I'll tell you now what happened.
Okay.
So I had thought about doing Kambo, and I was like, okay. So she was like, you'll start to see signs of frogs. So after I had thought about it, me and Mum went down to Lidl and we were shopping, and went to the middle aisle, and there was a frog statue, like a solar powered frog one for your garden. And I was like, I seen that and I just laughed, and I was like, that is mad.
Yeah, what are the odds? Like
that's here. So I was like, grand. And then I was doing college work and was over in Hout in a woodland kind of area, and a frog hopped by my path.
So it was multiple.
It was multiple
signs,
frogs, yeah.
Again, going back to signs.
Yeah, exactly. And it was something that like you wouldn't really think about. And then when you see frogs, you're like, oh my god, this is crazy. And then I had booked in then to do the Kambo with Lindsay. I said, look, I'm booking it in now. So I booked it. And then 2 days after I booked it, I was back into Lidl and the frog was there again. And I was like, that is the sign for me that it's time. So then I went and done it. And then the week after I done it, went into Lidl again and the frog was still there. And I was like, I'm buying that and I'm putting it in my bedroom as a reminder of what Kambo was. So it's still sitting in my bedroom.
That's such a lovely little, what's the word? Like
a keepsake.
A keepsake, yeah. I was going to say shrine, but it's not really the right word. But it's kind of like a way of remembering. Because like what you would have, obviously you have to get into what it is that done for you, but it's a way of remembering like you went through a battle.
Yeah,
do you know,
and that's exactly what it was. I kind of wanted a memory of it. Like I have photos and stuff, but I kind of just, that when I seen that frog, I was like, that was the first thing I seen, and I'm like, I want it now, and I want to keep it.
Powerful though.
Yeah. So
okay, go on.
Kambo is, as I said, a frog medicine. So it comes from the secretion of the, I'm probably going to butcher the name of this, the Philomedusa bicolor frog, or the giant monkey tree frog, I think is the name of it.
And just to add, I don't know anything about this. I've only heard of Kambo.
Yeah.
Like as in, I've heard of people that I've met through the shop, or even outside of the shop at retreats or whatever, talking about their experience on it.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I suppose listeners wise,
yeah,
they might be able to help. But.
So when I researched into it, it was saying that you have to drink water before you do this. So you're going into it fasted. So I didn't eat from 8 o'clock that night till probably about 11 o'clock when I got to her. So I hadn't ate at all.
Okay.
No water or anything like that. And then I got there and I had to drink 2 litres of water. That was very hard.
I would not be.
You were basically chugging the water down. Like, it's so hard. Like, I drink so much water. As you know, I bring water everywhere. But drinking 2 litres of water, she was like, how do you like drinking water? I was like, yeah. She was like, would you be able to drink 2 litres? And I was like, hell yeah. And I got halfway and I was like, I'm dying with this. I can't drink all this. So I got down, I would say I had probably a tiny bit left, and she was like, right, we'll start. So that's, when I read that, people were like, that's your first part of going through this, is drinking the water. Then you go into the actual, what I'll call the experience of Kambo. But I want to kind of talk about the history of Kambo, because it's a frog medicine, the story of it blew my mind.
Okay.
So there was it's an Amazonian frog, is where it's from, and there was a tribe years and years and years ago, and this man's tribe was completely dying of an incurable disease. So everyone in the village was dying, and they couldn't figure out what was killing them, and they couldn't cure what was killing them. So he went to a shaman and done ayahuasca, which was another plant medicine.
I've heard of that,
yeah. And when you do ayahuasca, you have the visions and stuff. I haven't done it, so I'm kind of talking off what
powerful.
I know.
They say you meet your spirit guides, if I'm not mistaken, like that. It's kind of what they recommend during the shamanic healing.
Yeah.
It's like soul retrieval, like you meet your guides and how you'll be greeted when you die, is what they state anyway, which is interesting. But yeah.
So he then went and done ayahuasca, and his vision showed him that this frog would cure his whole tribe, and the visions were that mad that it showed him exactly where to go to find the frog, how to call the frog from the tree, and what he was to do, how he was to administer the Kambo to people and all this.
Nice.
So then obviously that ended, and he went into the jungle, found the frog in the exact place where it was in his visions, called it down from the tree, took the secretion, put the frog back, went back to his tribe, administered the Kambo, and they were all cured. So it's such a powerful medicine. And when I read this, I was like, that is insane how I was looking at it in a way that one plant medicine led to the finding of this medicine, and its whole origins came from that. So
that's incredible.
It really is.
Incredible.
And that was kind of where I started. I'd listen to podcasts and all this, trying to figure out exactly what I was going into. So when I then went to Lindsay, she had texted me beforehand, let me know what I needed to bring, and she was like, bring a sheet of paper and write your intention with the medicine down onto that. So I was like, okay. So I wrote down a couple of little bits, and one of them was to help me release this trauma from when I was bullied. And when we went in, we were sitting down, and two of us were chatting away, and she was basically going through like the health and safety of this and what I can expect and what would happen. Because it was my first time, I obviously didn't know what I was coming into. So then I went into it, and that's when it was probably the most amazing thing I've ever done.
So can you describe to our listeners then exactly what it is that she had to do to you to get you from being, I want to say, in our normal state now to being under the influence of Kambo?
So
that would be the best way of stating it.
Kambo,
what's the process of it?
Yeah, so when I went in, we were basically sitting down chatting. Then you read out your intention in your head three or four times, and then you throw it into the fire and burn it.
Okay. And
then I went over and I sat down, and then you were drinking the water.
Okay.
And that's like your first step in, was burning your intention, then drinking the water. And as I was doing that, the two of us were chatting away the whole time, and then she done 3 small little burns into my arm.
Okay.
And they're only tiny little burns. Like, when I read it, I thought, geez.
How did she use
it was like an incense stick, yeah. It was similar to an incense stick.
Yeah, that's how I've read it before.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
And it was just 3 little tiny burns. Like, I still have little marks from it, but they're like my Kambo wounds. But yeah, so went in, and she then done the burns on my arm as I was drinking the water, and we were still chatting away. Like, it was the most peaceful place I've ever been to for something like this. Like, it was just in our house, but it was just,
you just felt safe.
Yeah, it was like a really, really safe place, and she had like music playing, and I think because it was my first time, I was really nervous about what I was going to do, because obviously I'd never done it before. I didn't it's my first time doing anything like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then she done the burns, and she done a test on me just to see if my body would react in any kind of way with the medicine.
Okay.
So when she does the burns, it only burns through the first layer of your skin. So it's only a tiny, tiny little burn, but it opens up your lymphatic system in your body, and that's where the Kambo was placed. So then she mixed up the secretion and put it onto the 3 spots, and then that's when I felt how, I'm just going to say mad, but how powerful the frog is when you're in this.
I don't think that's mad at all. Like, I mean, it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard so many stories about this, and it makes sense how you're almost embracing a different type of energy, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's, I suppose, another word would be an awakening.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, it's like you're floating, but you're not, if you get
That's
me.
exactly,
I would imagine,
that's how it felt.
I don't know, but from what you're saying, that's what I'm feeling from you. Is like, oh, it's like, whoa. But not in a whoa, like trippy way, but whoa, I can feel this through my body. Would I be right in saying that? Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be very right.
Okay. So, what after that then?
So
what
then,
happened?
we then started, she said basically the secretion will race through your body. It doesn't go into your body, it's only placed on your arm.
Right.
But it will race around your lymphatic system, to find what is wrong. So say if you had liver problems, it would race around, find your problem, and then your purge is releasing that
That's
problem.
incredible.
It really is. So then, as I was sitting there, I was sitting with my bucket in my hand, because your purge is, this is probably going to sound horrible to the viewers, but your purge is you vomiting out the trauma or whatever you are there to heal.
Yeah, because you're holding on to it.
Yeah. So I was sitting there with the bucket in my hand. I still remember this exactly how it was happening, and I could feel my entire body getting warmer and warmer and warmer, to the point where it's like I was actually been sitting out in the sun for hours, and I was just so hot. And then I felt my head pound, like I was getting kind of a headache, but it was just, it started off, it was only like doom doom doom, and then it was just doom 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 doom.
Right.
And then
wasn't with the music or anything like that?
No, it was just, it was the medicine itself that was doing this.
Okay.
And then I purged, and I'd say, when I was researching it, some people were saying like your purge can last anywhere between 5 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
So I was like, right, I'm going to be here for a while, I need to just embrace it and just release everything.
Yeah.
And I think I was just ready to release it at that point, and I just let everything out. And I remember 90% of the time I had my eyes closed. I was just, I don't know what it was, I just needed my eyes shut. And I just closed my eyes and I just let the medicine do its work. But as I was doing this, Lindsay was walking around and she was saging, and she had a shamanic drum and she was drumming a beat around me, and she had like feathers and stuff. I was just, it was really peaceful when I was there. Like it wasn't like you were in a rush to finish in a way. It was just like,
she was there to guide you.
yeah, she was like
process.
just guiding me as I was going through, and the whole time I was there she kept going, you okay, how are you feeling, is anything coming up, how are you feeling? So I was really happy that like it was done in that way, that it's like she's almost making sure you're okay every single second of it.
Yeah.
And then I purged up that much that I felt I didn't have anything left.
Okay.
So then she was like, how do you feel? I was like, I feel okay, I don't think I've anything left. And then she was like, okay, look, we'll turn the secretion on your arm and we'll see if anything else does come out, because you may as well get rid of everything while you're there. So I was like, okay, perfect. So she turned the Kambo around on my arm, flipped it around to the other side, and I was just sitting back then, and I was just feeling what was going on in my body, and I felt my body get hotter again, and then my head pound, but I didn't have a second purge.
Okay.
So I think I just released everything in the first go. I was just like, that's...
How long did that take you?
I would say it was probably just over 5 minutes.
Seriously?
Like I was...
That instantaneous.
It was straight away, and it was, I think it was because I was just ready to let go of everything.
Because you went in with the intention to release it, so you were
Yeah.
like, let this go, I want this out of me.
And I think it was just because I was so ready to let it go that I was just, it all just came out at once, and I was like, I was kind of glad afterwards. I was like, this, I needed to do this right now. And so then we were finished up, and I kind of had the shakes a bit, because it's like your body going into its shock mode because of what's after happening. So she then wiped all the secretion off, and we put aloe vera gel onto my arm where the burns were, and then I was just lying down for a couple of minutes, and my body was kind of shaking a little bit, like I was freezing cold, and I kind of got the shakes, and then probably they were gone after, I would say like a minute and a half, they were gone.
Seriously?
And then I felt really, really light after it, like everything was just gone, like all the stuff that I was holding on to had just been released in that time, and that it was the biggest release. Like it was that weight that was on my shoulders, it was like someone just came in with an axe and just cut all that weight away, and was like, you don't need to hold on to this anymore. And it was just gone.
It serves you no justice anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So then we were then finished up, and the two of us were just chatting away, and then that was it. That was me done.
Didn't you mention before about her reviewing the colour of your vomit? I know that's like an awful lot of information, but so there is like a significance to that. Like.
To the colours, yeah. So when we were starting, before I'd started, I read up on it, and it was like, your purge will be different colours, and basically not to be afraid of this, and it's totally normal. It depends on what you're healing. Your purge will be different colours. So black was the deepest possible purge you can get, and it's also trauma. Okay. And then I can't really remember what the others were. I think yellow was liver, or something along the lines of that.
So if you had like maybe an addiction to alcohol,
yeah, and you were purging that, it would be that colour.
Makes sense, yeah.
So then after I'd finished up, I looked at the bucket and it was black, and I remember sitting there thinking to myself, and I was like, how is it that black? Like, I haven't had any food. I've had 2 litres of water, and that's all I've had. And then she went and disposed of it, and then came back in, and she was like, that was pure black. She was like, all that was trauma that you had in your body that was serving you nothing, and you just released it. And she said, that's the best possible thing you could have done.
My God. And like, do you know the way last week we were talking about, like I was saying too, my experience with Reiki, and that was like I'd have sickness, headaches, I had kidney problems.
Yeah.
Like during it or even after this purge, so when you went home, did you find yourself unwell or any side effects from it? Or
No.
Okay.
When I went home, I was basically told to rest up for the rest of the day and not to do anything too strenuous, or even, she said basically just go home and just chill out. So I went home and I was just lying up on bed, and I didn't feel any sickness afterwards, and she kind of kept in contact and was asking me how I was getting on, and also,
which is brilliant.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's her job.
It was amazing, yeah.
For the fact that, like, I know during it now they do kind of, they guide you, because that's what a shamanic practitioner does. But when it comes to even afterwards, the fact that she cared so much about you, and God knows who else she has, everyone, I'm assuming, that's huge. Yeah. Because you know you're in a safe
place then, yeah. So I didn't really have anything happen afterwards. I think once I'd finished the purge, it was like, that was it. And it was just when we were going home, my dad was like, how are you feeling? I was like, I'm actually feeling grand. Like, I feel so much lighter. Yeah, I feel great. It's such a hard feeling to describe to people when they ask me how you were feeling. It's like, I don't know how you can explain this without experiencing it. It's that kind of a feeling that your whole body is like, almost like it's thankful for what you've just done, even though it's probably like, you're crazy doing this. But
as I was going to say, it's like, we're not trying to recommend you to do Kambo, but there's no way of describing it unless you experience it yourself, essentially. Like,
it's an extremely, extremely powerful and potent medicine, and it's that powerful that, like, when I was researching, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, I don't know what I'm going into, but I want to do it. And not in a point that, I want to do it. It's, I feel I needed to do it. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where...
That was your draw. Like, I mean, which I think is incredible, because, I mean, it's like one of the most intense experiences you can have. Like, Kambo, ayahuasca is like up at the high end,
like the top,
which is usually what people go to at the end of their healing journey, where they're ready to like face it, and they're like, okay, now I want to get rid of it.
Whereas I kind of went in on the deep end, and I was like, I want to do this one first.
Which I've never heard of.
No.
I've heard of people doing like their bits and bobs leading up to that.
Yeah.
But they've never went full on steam ahead.
Yeah, and I never went to like therapy or anything like that, so that was kind of my first proper release of...
I didn't know that.
No. That was like my first proper release of all the trauma from them years.
Which is why it probably came up so quick.
Yeah, I think that's probably why. That's probably why it came up so quickly for me, because it was being held onto for so long that I was like, it needed to just. I'd say it was in my body going, can you just let me out? Can you just let me out? And then when I seen this, I was like, we're going. See you later.
Yeah, because it makes sense. Because I mean, like, you know, people go into counselling and therapy, like they're obviously they're releasing it. Their throat chakra's opening up here. They're getting in the airways. They're communicating, or at least trying to communicate in the best way they possibly can. I know understand that some people may not have the ability to speak openly about what they've been through, but they might subliminally be able to say, well, I'm not doing okay, do you know, but I don't know if I want to talk about what's actually going on. But then when you don't do that, like, I mean, it's like when you keep doing that little bit of work and then you do, let's just say, a Reiki healing, you can feel it and it's a release, and like that it's like weight off your shoulders, which was kind of what I've experienced because I've got in therapy for so many years. Whereas for you, it was instant. It
was straight away.
Because it was like your body was probably like, it was in so much survival mode, it needed to release it. It was like, no, Corey, like, come on now. Because I mean,
it's time to just let go.
And I think what's really interesting, it's a shame that you can't maybe find out about this, but like, what the impact it would have been to your body if you hadn't released it as a trauma. Like, would have attacked a certain organ, do you know what I mean? Cause that's
it probably would have just kept eating away at me, because it was always something that I had in my head was of what happened to me, but I never talked about it really.
I want to ask you a question. So, you're saying to me that you don't actually know what organs it could have impacted you, like if you held on to this trauma and trauma, if you didn't purge it. But do you think, like, for me now, I'm thinking, right, this is trauma that, for me, if you're being bullied, personally, I lost confidence in myself.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that
for
yourself?
100%.
Okay, so we're on the same path here. I'm just saying, not everyone's the same, obviously.
Yeah.
We can be impacted.
But just the two of us have the same kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a different understanding for other people, obviously, that's listening right now. So that's your solar plexus. Guide. Here.
On the wall.
Our beautiful yellow glowing chakra.
Yeah.
That's all to do with the stomach, okay? And that's why I was like, do you suffer with like stomach issues? Like, do you think
I don't think so.
Digestive problems, intolerance to foods or anything like that, do you find, or
I don't think so.
Really? That's interesting.
Not that I know of, but I do know when. Oh my god, I can't even remember what I was going to say that.
That's okay. But
I had something in my head now. I was
blank moment.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I was just thinking of like my lack of confidence from my experience through the forms of bullying.
Yeah.
And how I couldn't see myself any differently than how I was being viewed, if that makes sense. And if that makes sense to our listeners as well. But essentially that would have led me to get IBS as well. And like, I mean, I've digestive issues, I've intolerances to food, like I'm actually lactose intolerant and I have gluten intolerance. I'm not quite celiac, but it's like all of this, and even now, even after all this healing, I still quite struggle with it. There's elements of it where I'm healing it, but I know it's like it's stemming further back, which is interesting. That's why I said I'd ask you that.
I don't think I do. Like I like food. I eat all foods.
Yeah.
So I kind of.
So you're fine.
Yeah.
But like looking back now, do you think you'd do it again? Overall.
100%.
Seriously.
Yeah. I was only discussing it that I'd like to go back and do it again. That I feel it helped me that much that I'd like to go back and just see if I was to do it again, what is there any more trauma that I need to release?
Yeah.
Because I know it's a very extreme way to start my healing journey, and like I obviously want to go into a lot more healing. Like I want to try Reiki and all sound healing is something I'm really interested in. So it's something that I want to venture more into.
So so for legal reasons we obviously can't recommend anyone to proceed with this form of treatment, but like you're saying now, like there's other forms of healing that interest you. So what is it? There's Reiki,
sound healing.
Sound baths,
yeah. I'd like to try I can't even think of the name of it, the one where you see your past life.
Oh, past life regression.
That's the word, yeah, past life regression.
Okay, so you're interested in
I'd like to try that and just see.
So that's the generational healing.
Yeah.
So like, I was actually going to get into that next, because obviously like trauma comes from many different forms.
Yeah.
Can be lineage based, so like it's from our ancestors, it's way back, which is something I'm trying to heal at the minute, and it's really incredible how we are connected so deep back to our family. And then obviously there's past lives that we've lived, and I know people will say that's a bit mad. I don't know if I believe it.
But it isn't really.
But it's so interesting even when you do Reiki, because I was touching base on like obviously the last episode with the likes of the experience of past life and how we can witness it and how we've passed away, and it can be again another form of trauma because you have to relive your death and find out how you've passed. So it's very interesting. But I'm only thinking now in this lifetime now, generationally speaking, how like our parents can influence us and like their parents influenced them, and it goes back. I believe it goes back to 4 generations.
That was actually something Lindsay was talking to me about when I was in. She was asking me if, when we'd finished up and we were talking afterwards, she was like, was there anyone else in your family that was bullied? And I said, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. And then she was also asking me if anyone had died, I think it was within 3 days of my birth or within after 3 days of my birth, that can also bring up the trauma.
Right.
And I was actually meant to have a twin brother or a twin sister or a twin that died in the womb that I never met.
Oh my god.
So that could have also been something that was the trauma from that. She said that could have caused.
Oh my, that's after hitting me so bad. Oh my god, Corey. I had no idea. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, like Jesus Christ.
So that was another one that she was saying could have, like the trauma of me losing that twin.
Yeah, because like, oh my god. Yeah, so sorry about that. We just had to take like a little intermission, as Corey just said there. I just wasn't expecting that.
No, and I knew you wouldn't expect it, and I wasn't really going to say it, but it was also kind of, it was a part that Lindsay was saying could bring up the trauma from my past.
Yeah.
Was that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what she was saying, but she was saying that from the bullying, that would have, she was asking me like, have I lost confidence? And I was like, yeah, and she goes, well, that's the major part from the bullying, but she said like, this will help bring you back, kind of.
Yeah, it's your solar plexus. It's so important, and our guts are so connected to our minds as well. Like, do you know what I mean? But I just think that's fascinating how she was able to pinpoint, excuse me, the likes of the loss of something that was in your life before you were born or just after you were born, and how it can actually impact you in some way, and it makes so much sense. Like, I mean, even our mothers, like whether we're a female or a male, we are so connected to our mothers. Do you know what I mean? And our fathers, obviously, like there's probably an awful lot of elements within you that you can see in your father, and I'm the same. Like talking about the generational thing, like even if I was just to go back as far as my mother, for example, I can see how me and my mum have had similar lives. Like it's like the betrayal, the lack of trust, the hurt, the pain. We're very outgoing characters, and we want to help people, but people tend to hurt us. And even like male influences around us, like my mom she'd be really like hardy book, whereas I'm very soft because my father is, not that he's soft, but internally I want to say he is, and he's a water sign, so I would say that's where I get that kind of soft inside, but my mom has allowed me to be like, no, don't show weakness, like, you know, you show weakness in your safe place. And it's incredible how we can become our parents in so many elements. And I know some people will say, oh, I don't like my parent does this, or my parents do this or that, and I get that. I can relate to that. But we can learn from that. Like, I mean, it's not their fault, and then we can go back to their mothers and fathers, and you know, you're looking at my mom being raised by her parents and my dad being raised by his parents, same for you, and how their influences can affect them. So it's like, okay, what did my mom go through being raised? What did my dad go through being raised? And how it's then brought
back onto you then,
which is why, like, for me, like I was saying it before, and I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but like, you know, like to be a mother, it's a selfless act. And same as a father, of course. But it's like, to carry a child, they're going to witness it all, and it's like when you give birth to a child, it's almost like you're passing on your trauma to them. So it's a really important part of my healing journey to make sure that I've healed as much of the trauma that I've been through in my life
before
over the
last. Pass it on to anyone else.
Exactly. That's my goal, and that would go for the same for like my partner as well. Like, I mean, it's all about togetherness and knowing that like there's two parts to play in healing. because I mean it creates one, and I think it's fascinating because it does make so much sense how we can become our parents and we can get stuck in this kind of karmic connection where we relive similar scenarios or similar losses in our lives. And I'm like, and I can see it now as I've gotten older how there's a huge link within that. But yeah, no, it's very, very interesting, I have to say. So from this, what do you see yourself like doing with your journey of healing from now on, from here on out?
I can see I want to go further, and I want to see what more healing I have to do. Like, obviously I have a lot to do, I would say.
Okay.
And I kind of just want to delve more into it and just see what else is there, and almost like experiment with different methods and see which kind of works best for me. Obviously Kambo was an experience to start with, like, but it's just going through and releasing whatever is left, releasing all that, and then there's probably like more stuff that's happened that I don't know is holding on to me, but that needs to also be released. So it's just kind of, I want to just keep going with it. Like, I've started it now, and it's almost like I've started it, so I want to finish it, but I want to finish it in the right way and do as much as I can now before I can't do anything else really with it.
I know what you
So it's just kind of getting as much healing done now while I'm younger than holding on to it for more years and then being like, well, I should have done this when I was younger, when I done it first and kept going with it. So I just kind of, I want to keep going. And
because you can see how trauma I don't know why my voice is going here, I don't know what's going on. But I can see how trauma can impact people even as they get older, in fact. Do you know, like, it's almost like it's a burden on them. And it's, as one of the things that Irish people would say, oh, that person has a chip on their shoulder. And it is a thing that people have, like, we carry it. And I think even as in our Irish culture especially, we're kind of just told to get on with it. And even now I know mental health is a huge thing for people, and they're like, oh, you know, get the help you need or talk to people, which is important. I don't like using the word help because I mean, look, I know it's a form of asking for help, but it's not help. It's just trying to find yourself again, like, you know, get reconnecting to yourself again and feeling good about yourself. But you can see the impacts of it in our society, in our country. Not saying that it doesn't happen anywhere else, but just speaking for
from
us
what we
Irish
can
people,
see.
It's like, oh, look at us, we just get on with it. We just say, oh, it's grand, like, get on with it.
And I think that's kind of the mentality I had was, sure, it's grand, I'll deal with it at some point, but not now. And I think I left it too long to a point where it was just eating away at me, and I was just like, I need to let go. And it was I think it was the hardest part because of how vulnerable I felt at that point.
I was just about to use the exact same word. I was like, that's the fear, I think, within all of us.
Even doing this now, like, I'm opening up my entire story to people that I don't personally know, and it's just, I think it's not even that I don't want to open it up. I think it's easier because all I'm seeing is me and you here. I don't see all the listeners gathered around. Audience, but I think it's just releasing what was eating up at me, and just how vulnerable I felt when I was doing Kambo was probably the most vulnerable I've ever felt, because you're in that space and you're just releasing, and it's, I remember parts of it, I had my eyes closed and I was just crying, and I didn't know why I was crying or what I was doing, or I was thinking, am I okay? What's going on with me? Why am I crying? And I was like, I just need to cry, and just, so I had my eyes closed from parts, and I remember near the end, I remember just opening my eyes, and you know when you're after being crying and your eyes are like all watery, and I remember opening my eyes and I was like, oh, what's going on? I was like, this isn't good. And I was like, well, I'm not been crying. I'm like, it's okay, I can cry.
Yeah, because it's important, like, and that goes for both men and women. Like, I mean, especially men, I think, because I think men are kind of brought up especially to be strong.
You don't
tough,
cry,
you
get on with it.
Yeah, and like, that's why it's so important for men to show that side of themselves, and showing it to a point where if it's in a safe place with one person, so be it. It's showing that I am going through a lot right now, and obviously you held back them tears, and that's why it was uncontrollable, and it frightened you because you were like, is this like a side effect, or is this actually the emotions I'm holding on to? And like, looking back now, you can see that it was obviously,
it was just the emotion,
you were holding on to it, and that's what's so powerful about it. Like, that's why I just think this whole journey with healing, it's so incredible, and I love that we did cover this as a
I was
section.
actually so happy when you were asking me about the topics, and you're like, do you want to talk about our healing journeys? I was like, look, I don't really have much of a journey to talk about because I've only done this, and I was like, but it's also a big part of my journey.
Yeah,
It's a start for me. Like, you started at some point, I'm starting now, so
there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know, and even then, I remember you were kind of saying, "Oh, I don't know if I should talk about." Like, I don't really have much to talk about, and I said, "Corey, of course you do." I was like, even though that was one experience for you, that was a huge part of your life, and like you're talking about a far more nearly interesting storyline there of how. I suppose I didn't even go into the history of Reiki when I was talking about it. But you went into the history of Kambo there.
I think I just wanted to cover the history because it's something that
Oh.
when I researched it, I think that was the most fascinating part to me, was researching it, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, how a plant medicine leads to this, and then this cures the tribe, and I'm like, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah,
like,
and there's so many forms of plant medicine. Like, I know we have cacao as well, and cacao is obviously like it's a natural strain of chocolate, but like the benefits of that compared to eating a bar of Cadbury chocolate, you know, filled with additives and sugar, and don't get me wrong, I love chocolate.
Oh, so do I.
But cacao for me has like been a great benefit for me, as in to find flow and to kind of feel better mentally. And even coffee, I sometimes would get the shakes from drinking a cup of coffee, and I'm like, oh god. And it is kind of frightening effect, like, you know, when I wouldn't be, and it's only kind of come on me in the recent probably year or 2 years, I've started to notice the shakes. And when I drink cacao, none of that happens. You feel balance in your life, and it's even when you do meditation, especially with the ceremonial cacao. Oh my god, it's a different experience. It's like an enlightenment to you, and you're reconnecting with yourself, and it's like it's actually filled with heart. Like, it's just love, passion, joy, comfort, guidance, and I just love it. So there is so many forms of it that are so beneficial. So I can kind of totally understand why Kambo is something that is both legal and beneficial at the same time. But that's just incredible. So have you anything else you'd like to add?
I'm trying to think now. Like, it's I know as soon as we end this podcast, I'll be like, oh, I should have said that. But I'm kind of just trying to think of what else kind of happened. I do know, like, after it, she was like, don't eat terribly, just eat good foods. Don't go eating like bars of chocolate now as soon as you go home. And I wasn't allowed to eat red meat. Couldn't eat red meat for 3 days after it.
Right.
So that was, and when I had done this, it was coming up to Easter. I was on my Easter break from college when I done this.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's interesting now where you couldn't eat red meat, and you don't know why.
I remember she said, but I can't. It won't come to my head now. I'm trying to think now.
No, that's okay. Don't worry. And there's obviously going to be some sort of effect internally if you were to eat it.
I'd say so, yeah. She said just stay away from red meat for 3 or 4 days. I
suppose red meat, though, nowadays is injected with God knows what. I personally can't eat red meat, so I mean, I totally get it. I love red meat, and I have it the occasion, but I can't. It actually really like messes up my stomach. Yeah. So whatever it is that's in it causes inflammation. So maybe there was something that would have, with that and the frog poison, would have just triggered a reaction essentially.
And so that's kind of, that was mostly it. That was mostly of all of the journey. I just remember it was, when I left, I was like, oh my god, like, that was incredible. And I just remember I went home and my mum was like, how did you get on? I just lifted up my t-shirt and I just showed her the 3 marks that still
you can kind of
slightly still there, there's 3 little dots there. But yeah, then the scars have healed up on it. Like, I have a slight little 3 little reminder dots on my arm of it.
As you said, your battle wounds.
Battle wounds, yeah. And that was really, like, all of it. I just remember then afterwards I just had to keep kind of putting aloe vera gel onto it just to keep the wound okay. And then I would say it was probably a month later the scars had healed up fully, and it was just like you could just see the 3 little red marks.
Well, it's interesting that you're talking about everything, because I mean, these people that might be interested in it will get to know the ins and outs of it, and obviously they'll do their own research as well.
You have to research it yourself, because if you're not ready for it, I think it's a very powerful, as I was told, it's one of the most powerful medicines known to man. So to go in and sit with this medicine, you have to be ready for it, and you have to be ready to accept what's going to happen. And I think that's where you have to pick your right practitioner. Like, I obviously picked mine from, I was talking to her a couple of bits, just texting on Instagram about kind of Kambo and what it is and bits like this, and she was always saying, like, if you want to do it, just send me a text and let me know. And once I sent her the text to say yeah, she'd sent me then like a full 4 pages of kind of safety that I have to go through, of like, if you have any of these, you can't take Kambo, you can't sit with Kambo. So there was a lot of like safety and health
There would
wise.
have to be.
Oh yeah.
I would totally get it. But I am very drawn to it.
Yeah.
I've spoken to a few people in the last couple of weeks, I'd even say, and it has sparked interest. And it was only when we started talking about this, I was like, oh my god, now I want to get to learn more about this, because I only knew so much of your story about it. And I am definitely personally drawn to it.
Yeah.
I don't know when.
You have
as
to.
You said, it'll come to
It'll
me.
come to you when it's ready.
Yeah.
Like when I used to seen the frogs that time, when I seen the first one, I was like, okay, that's a bit strange now. And then I seen the second one, and I was like, right, something's going on here. And then when I booked it and I seen that frog still in diddle, I was like, right, that has got to be my sign. And then when I texted Leanne, who I mentioned before, she's done it a couple of times, and she was like, yeah, they're your signs, that's you ready.
I'll let you know if I see any frogs now after this podcast. Just
be
to see if it's a sign for me to be like, hey, that's what you need. So, but yeah, so I suppose that kind of marks the end of this episode for today. We would like to thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing you all again, and we look forward to coming back here again to do what we love to do, which is
talk
rambling.
and ramble.
So we would really appreciate if you could share and subscribe.
Definitely.
Our podcast is available on Spotify, Google Play, Amazon Music, and
YouTube.
So thank you, and I hope you all have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And thank you for listening to Corey's story, and we'd like to thank Corey as well, actually, for sharing a vulnerable side of yourself and your journey, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you for letting me have somewhere to talk
of course. And that goes for everyone else that's listening here. If you have oh my god, I'm not able to talk today at all. If you have a story to share of your own, feel free to send it in to us. We don't have to include a name. You might have something that
you can stay anonymous, and we'll just we'll call you Mary O'Reilly, Mary Joe from Monaghan.
But we'll definitely like to hear people's stories, because I mean that's a big part of this as well, is knowing that we're not the only ones doing it, and we know we're not.
Especially from the responses that we got last week, people are, I don't want to say happy to share, but happy that we are talking about this, that then they feel they can share, and I think that's a really good part, to get people talking about this, and it's something that I'm glad I did today.
Well, fair play to you, because it's tough. It's not easy to just open up to a vulnerable part of your life, your story, and you're being open about something that actually caused you pain. So thank you. By the way, be proud, and thank you again, as we've said like maybe 10 times, for tuning in to this
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you. We look forward to our next episode, which is going to be completely different again. So yeah, we'll be sure to tune in next week, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.